So today was day 8 of Packers OTAs. There's only one more OTA practice remaining, which will be on June 9th. And then after that, mandatory minicamp will take place from June 11th through 13th. But I want to go over all of the updates from what happened today at Packers OTAs, looking at different reporters who were at the practice. And we've gone over 2 other OTA practices where the media was present, and they were present again today. So we have a little bit to talk about. Now here from Wes Hodquist. Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, and Melton Jenkins are all back for Tuesday's OTA practice. Emmanuel Wilson has his helmet on. Jair Alexander is here, but doesn't appear to be going today. Otherwise, same DNPs, Davis, Kraft, Tom, Oladapo, and Magoo. So last week, the last practice that the reporters were at, Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, and Melton Jenkins were not present. The first practice that the reporters were at, pretty much everyone was there except Robert Rochelle, who was excused for a personal reason. And so there was a really good attendance overall at this Packers OTAs. Some of the veterans deciding to not be at the last practice, but they were back today, so they're not skipping at least this practice. And then I do not know what's going on with Jair Alexander. I haven't seen any updates at this point. Once this video is out, there could be more that has come out, and so we'll see there. Hopefully it's nothing too serious, but he doesn't appear he wasn't playing today at Packers practice. Kraft and Tom have the pec injury, should be back around the start of training camp. And then here for Matt Schneiden, by the way, Katan Oladapo is out of a walking boot. 5th-round rookie safety said he broke his toe at the combine and hopes to be ready by camp. So there's a little bit of an update. Seems to be progressing. Then from Mike Spofford, Lucas Van Ness is back on the practice field after missing last week's open Packers OTA due to a broken thumb tip. And that is what we heard from LaFleur. He had broken the tip of his thumb. Didn't seem to be much of a problem, and he was back at practice today, so that seems to be something that is not going to be really holding Lucas Van Ness back. Then Andy Herman, starting offensive line today. Walker left tackle, Elton Jenkins left guard, Josh Myers center, Sean Ryan right guard, and then Jordan Morgan right tackle. So this time, Jenkins was at practice. Because of that, he, of course, takes his spot at left guard. And the only difference here from what we saw in the previous practices is that Jordan Morgan, first-round tackle drafted by the Packers this season, did start at right tackle, where in the previous practices it had been Andre Dillard, a player the Packers brought in this offseason who was a former first-round pick. I believe it was in 2019. Has bounced around a few different teams, struggled the past year or so, and was not playing quite as he where he was drafted as a first-round pick. So Jordan Morgan pushing his way to starting at right tackle in the OTA practice today. And we've seen the same thing happen every single practice, just these guys switching around a lot. The Packers trying to figure out who are the best 5. And one thing we have witnessed every single day is Rasheed Walker out there at left tackle. They have not started at this point. Jordan Morgan over him at left tackle. Rasheed Walker, of course, taking over at left tackle when David Bakhtiari went down last year early in the season. Walker played pretty solid during the time there at left tackle. And then Myers still at center, Sean Ryan still at right guard. So we'll see if Morgan stays at tackle, if he'll ever push his way over to left tackle, if Rasheed Walker could switch to right tackle. Keep an eye on all that. Then here, defense. We got Preston Smith at defensive end, TJ Slayton in the defensive line interior there. Devontae Wyatt also in the interior. Then Rashawn Gary on the outside. Not sure why Kenny Clark wasn't in there to start, but those are the 2 interiors, Slayton and Wyatt. Then at linebacker, Eric Wilson, Quay Walker, and then Isaiah McDuffie. So Edgerrin Cooper has still not pushed his way into the starters yet. I think he will at some point, but it's still early in OTAs. Then at cornerback, Stokes and Valentine. Of course, Jair was not practicing, and so that's why Valentine gets to start there. We had seen previously Stokes with Jair Alexander, and Matt LaFleur and other players have been praising Stokes, and LaFleur was saying that it's the best that Stokes has looked in a long time. So that's good news if Stokes can play great this season, and he has a chance to beat out Valentine for the opposite outside corner spot with Jair Alexander. Then at safety, we still have Xavier McKinney and Anthony Johnson Jr. So Anthony Johnson Jr., last year's 7th-round pick, safety. I think at some point we're going to see Javon Bullard push Anthony Johnson Jr. out of that starting position, but up to this point, it still has yet to happen. And then Josh Jacobs gets his first team action as starting running back. So he had been dealing with a hamstring injury. He seems to be progressing, moving in the right direction. Then Ryan Wood, after working back from hamstring injury, The training wheels are off. Josh Jacobs gets first reps of team period for first time this spring. They're just in shorts, but Jacobs showed some real burst on stretch to right sideline. Looks like that hammy feels fine. And when we originally heard about this hamstring injury, Matt LaFleur did not sound worried at all in his press conference. It sounded like he was, one of the first practices, Jacobs was sprinting on the sideline, and so it looked to not be too much of an issue. But as I said, hamstring injuries, they can flare up from time to time. But so far, Jacobs seems to be doing a lot better, which is great to see. For the newest Packers, or one of the newest Packers running backs here, taking over for Aaron Jones. Then hear from Andy Herman. Tyron Hopper, a great job ranging over for a stop on Marshawn Lloyd with the twos. Packers third-round linebacker draft pick, or one of the Packers third-round draft picks, Marshawn Lloyd being the other. Great coverage downfield for the ones off play action. Wooden with a would-be coverage sack. Then here we have Matt Schneidman. Jordan Love just hit Bo Melton for a 75-yard touchdown during 11-on-11. Perfect deep ball hit Melton in stride down the middle past everybody. In this Packers wide receiver room, it's so deep. I mean, Melton is probably receiver number 5, potentially 5 or 6 with Malik Heath. Ahead of him, you probably got Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed. And we saw what Bo Melton could do later in the season last year, that if he needs to come in and, be a starter, he has the ability to play at a really, really high level. And so to have that as your, 5th or 6th best wide receiver is something that's, really nice to have as an offense. And I was thinking about the Packers in their future when it comes to paying all these receivers, because right now they're all on rookie deals. But eventually, these guys are going to want to get big contracts. The question I was having in my mind is, when you think about that, because the ball has been spread around so much by Jordan Love, it could be that at that point, one of these guys doesn't get paid as maybe the top receiver in the NFL. If as the next couple of seasons go by, if they keep getting, if the reps, I guess, or the targets keep getting split up between these players, maybe none of them deserve maybe top tier wide receiver money. But at the same time, it's going to be tough to keep all these guys around. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs now entering year 3. So they have 2 years left on their contract. So it's not going to be a problem right now. We still have a couple seasons till these, decisions will have to be made. But within a 2-year period, you're going to have to decide whether you're going to re-sign Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and then Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks. So it's nice to have Bo Melton playing really well as well. So maybe at that point, you have to let one of those guys go, I would guess, because it's hard to pay every single person. So it's nice to have a guy of Melton's caliber as one of your lower receivers on the depth chart. Then here we have from Andy Herman. A.J. Dillon looks a bit more svelte this year in a great way. He's built, but looks like much more lean muscle, bit more hop in his step. And I came across a picture, I think it was on Twitter, of A.J. Dillon yesterday, and he did look a lot more lean. He's still a big physical guy, but you can tell that he looks a little smaller than he was last season, and that could be good. Maybe that gives him, more explosiveness and ability to break away. But that is an interesting update there on A.J. Dillon and the way that he's built this season. Then Wes Hodquist here. Andre Dillard getting work at left tackle today after Walker opened there. Now at right tackle with Morgan at right guard. Packers getting their rotations in today. And I feel like we're not going to really know what this O-line will fully look like until training camp, when we really get to see who stays at what position. Just like last season, we were watching different battles, with Zach Tom competing for that tackle spot with Josh Nijman. He beats him out and plays as one of the better tackles in the NFL. And so right now we're seeing a few things, but I'll wait till training camp to really get an idea of what this final offensive line will be looking like. Then hear from Ryan Wood. I don't know who was supposed to block Packers rookie linebacker Edgerrin Cooper, but no one did. And when he gets downhill, it's like being shot out of a cannon. Would have dropped Josh Jacobs for a 3-yard loss. This is one thing. I'm really excited to see how Edgerrin Cooper fits into this Packers defense. Plays like that, you could tell his time in college. He's such an explosive linebacker. Really solid against the run. Just plays so fast. He's such a fast guy. Great sideline-to-sideline speed. Super aggressive. And I think that we're going to, like the combination of Quay Walker, Edgerrin Cooper, when the Packers are playing in nickel, having, 2 middle linebackers. It's nice to hear things like this coming out of camp. Cooper already making some splash plays. Then from Ryan Wood, Rashawn Gary just steamrolled Jordan Morgan on a bull rush, drove right over him to the ground. Pads or no pads, welcome to the NFL, Rook. Now, that's probably, one of the toughest players to block in the NFL if you're a tackle being a rookie there, going up against Rashawn Gary. But that's a nice thing, when you have top-tier players like this, when your offensive linemen have to consistently go against guys like Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, two, really solid, defensive ends now at this point. With the Packers' 4-3 defense, it's just going to make him better overall, and hopefully he can learn a lesson from what Rashawn Gary did. Then from Andy Herman, Carrington Valentine all over a deep throw to Heath. Valentine ran the route better than Heath. Previous play, McKinney all over Musgrave, incomplete. Outside of the deep ball to Melton, defense has been sticky as bleep so far. And I think considering how good this Packers offense is, the fact that this defense playing really well, Xavier McKinney making plays all over Luke Musgrave, I feel like that's something I'd rather see than the offense consistently dominating, because we know what they can do, and if this defense can take that jump to the next level with McKinney, which I feel like they have a shot of doing, it's going to be good news for this Packers team as they try to get back to the playoffs and make it even farther this next season. Then Andy Herman, Carrington Valentine is talking a ton of smack to Malik Heath. Valentine's on it today. Kalen King, meanwhile, with great coverage on Watson. Kalen King being the 7th rounder, who at one point a year before was seen as a potential first-round pick, dropped to the 7th round because of a pretty poor season in 2023. But I think he's a lot of upside, and so he had some nice coverage on Christian Watson. Not saying something. Then Ryan Wood. Jordan Love had frustrating rep with Josh Jacobs open in right flat. Beheld it searching for play downfield. Bigger play never developed, and Love had to eat it for sack. Immediately pointed to Jacobs. My bad. Those two using spring for what it's meant, getting acquainted. Then Jordan Love finds Josh Jacobs open over the middle. This time, Jacobs doesn't turn his head around in time. Jacobs immediately raises his hand. My bad. So, looks like Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs are trying to get onto the same page. They're new player. Josh Jacobs being a new player here, that it could take some time to build that chemistry and really understand what each other are doing. But they should be fine as time goes by. Andy Herman, Javon Bullard lined up in the slot. Packers using some big nickel today. On the last play, Bullard got picked legally, and Reed got the free release. Was open downfield, but Love overthrew it. And that's one thing that Javon Bullard did a lot in college at Georgia, especially for one season. I think it was either his sophomore or junior season. Played a ton of slot corner, and so even though he is a safety, he has that ability to also play in the slot. And the Packers used him there today. Then Ryan Wood, Jordan Love just dropped a dime deep middle to Dontavian Wicks, dropped. Wicks running a step open on Eric Stokes, and Love didn't miss, hit his wide receiver in stride, but Wicks couldn't hang on. So drops happen from time to time. I think Dontavian showed us last season what he can do, and he's a chance, I think, to take some big strides forward in year 2. And then here to end off, we got some field goal news. Matt Schneidman, first field goal period. Jack Podlesny, good from 41 and 44. Anders Carlson, good from 42 and 44. Greg Joseph, good from 43 and 46. Second kicking period. Carlson, good from 41 and wide left from 45. Podlesny, good from 43 and 46. Joseph, good from 42 and 44. In total, 11 of 12. Carlson with the only miss. So mostly solid there. Then here from Wes Hodkwitz, decisive win for defense in twos, who didn't concede a yard in 2 minutes. Somebody sacked Clifford on second down. Then Matt Schneidman, looked like Javon Bullard had 2 pass breakups, though one should have been an interception on a deep ball that bounced off his face. So Javon Bullard flying around, wasn't able to get the pick, but that's I think what you want to see from your new young safety, who I think should take over from Anthony Johnson Jr. starting there at practice soon. Then Wes Hodkwitz, Brenton Cox Jr. has had a nice day, sack earlier in practice and very active in team now. So Cox being some depth there on the edge on defensive end. And then here to end it off, Wes Hodkwitz, after all 3 kickers make from 54, Packers formed a gauntlet for a final kickoff from 54. Podlesny and Joseph missed. Carlson makes last kick and gets mobbed. Practice is over. So it seemed like a pretty solid day today from the kickers. And then also Wes Hodkwitz, Love goes 4 of 6 for 39 yards in first 2 minutes before an Egbare disruption ends drive. They tried 57-yard field goals with Carlson and Joseph making and Podlesny missing wide left. So that is it from the updates today at Packers OTA practice. If you want more Packers updates, news, make sure you turn on the post notifications down below. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at LukeBeller3, and I'll see you guys next time.